All righty, my friend. We welcome you to our wonderful UCM educational series with Reverend Lynn Rogers and Reverend Chris Miller. We are so excited to have these two incredible individuals guide us on using our intuitive gifts and wisdom as we meet 2022. And I just would like to take a moment to acknowledge how much of a journey we have all been on, how much of a journey each and every one of you have been in this world, bringing healing, bringing comfort, bringing compassion, and bringing your own light. And to symbolize that, we are going to light the candle. And I have a green candle here with seed motif, seeds of the new year. I don't know if you can see this, seeds for the new year. And unfortunately, I have to light it because I've got the one that has the candle in my possession. But I would invite anyone that would like to, for this moment today, as we are together, to just take a deep breath and to say, we are here together to explore that deep landscape of our intuitive gifts and also some intuitive tools that Reverend Chris and Reverend Lynn are going to share with us to create the seeds of the new year. So would anyone like to make a wish while I fire up the candle?
Oh, peace.
Wonderful. I love it. Peace.
Health for Dr.
Health
Dave.
for the world. Yeah.
Health for the world.
Prayers for
Maybe.
Dr. J. Dr.
Yes,
Gillespie.
prayers for Dr. J. Absolutely.
May we give and receive tonight what we most need to share and receive. Blessed be.
Yes, may we give and receive what we most need. May we share and receive. Thank you. Beautiful. So just know, my friends, that as a compendium of lights that each and every one of you brings, we are a powerful light. So, and I would just want to let everyone know who is maybe watching this on a recorded version that Reverend Lynn and Reverend Chris have both been on the front lines doing amazing work in the intuitive field. And with UCM, our parent church, Universal Church of the Master. And we invite you to, as you like and will enjoy this incredible night, we invite you to check out all that UCM has to offer. So I'm just going to offer that Lynn has been a part of UCM for many years, and that both of them bring that cumulative wisdom and experience. And I'm going to let them introduce what they most want to share today. Welcome, welcome, Lynn and Chris.
Well, thank you, Janet. And I wanted us to, since Chinese New Year will be February 1st, 2022, that I wanted to take a moment to do a little bit of a completion of release of old energies meditation. And this was begun for me. I was exposed to this by Reverend Marcia Hunter as a youth in 1977 at Damian Simpson's church in Mountain View. And then she carried it forth to Jessica Madigan's conferences. And it became a tradition to allow the old energies that were to come up in our consciousness briefly so that we can know what we learned and then release them. So if you can get into a comfortable position, we're going to do this before we look at our intuitive numbers and our tools for the coming year. So get relaxed, please, and let yourself draw in the energy of the creative forces, the loving Mother, Father, Creator within you, all around you, creating a safe space. And I'm going to call up the energies of the year that was before we fully set our intentions for the new year we're in. So I'm going to begin by calling up the energy of 2021. But it comes to me before I do that to call up 2020 as a whole year. Let's go back to 2020. And we're just going to call that up as a whole year for a moment. And when I do that, I can feel, some of the tears in the center of my chest, the compassion for all that so many have gone through. And we want to call up that year. But in the midst of those challenges, we may have grown in new ways that we could never have dreamed about, often in our solitude and in our introspection and in our reaching out to others in new ways. So take a moment and call up your personal 2020. And as you do, you don't have to think of this consciously, but the overall lesson of the year may come to you. And if there's any moment in that year that you still need to release to the skeins of time and space, take a moment now to allow the energies to come forward into your consciousness safely. And allow your inner knowingness to tell you, what were you learning and what do you still need to release? Take a moment. And from that, we release the year 2020 into the skeins of time and space. Edgar Casey said, as we pass through a period of time, even a day, by our choices and how we respond, our soul gains. Sometimes we lose a little, only to learn that lesson anew. We now release 2020 to the skeins of time and space, and we call up 2021 for a last look. And we begin with the most recent month we recall, around the holidays. We may still have a little bit of holiday energy even in our home. We had celebrated Yule and Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa coming in. And if there's something of that month of Sagittarius and Capricorn birthdays, something yet that you may not have understood, allow that month to flow up toward release and understanding. December of 2021. And moving with that and releasing that into the ethers, we go back to November of 2021, month of Sagittarius and Scorpio birthdays, month of Thanksgiving. What might we have been learning in this challenging year, in which our Thanksgivings may have looked different? In 2021, what was your personal lesson yet to know? And your own soul will bring it to you naturally, if not now, in dreams and in meditation. Moving back now through October of 2021. month of Halloween, month of Libra and Scorpio birthdays. What again did we learn from this month that yet remains to be understood now? As we release this, we move back through September, month of Virgo and Libra birthdays, of the autumn equinox, time that sometimes thoughts return to education, things we want to learn, the harvest time. What did we learn that we can now understand and release? Moving back now from September to August, month of Leo and Virgo birthdays, a very warm month. What did we understand and last need to release? Moving back now to July, month of Cancer and Leo birthdays. A summertime, perhaps experienced differently than others. What are the lessons? And learning and releasing July of 2021. We're now moving back into the first half of the year, beginning with June, the month of the summer solstice. In the Celtic tradition, the lovers embrace for the masculine feminine polarity, regardless of gender. And that helps turn the wheel of the year anew. It's the longest day of the year, just as we're in some of the shortest ones now. What were we learning in that month of Gemini and Cancer birthdays? Let yourself float, recall, and understand. And now releasing the month of June, we go back through May of Taurus and Gemini birthdays. May Day, the rose month, the month of the mother and the earth. What did we learn in 2021? understanding and releasing and letting go. We go back to April, month of Aries and Taurus, month of the spring of Easter and some times and spring equinox. What were we learning? And letting go and releasing, the month of April, we move back into the Ides of March, Pisces and Aries birthdays. Moving toward the Easter, the Passover energy, reflecting on giving up perhaps some habits in the Lenten time. And let's understand and release March. And moving back now to February, month of St. Valentine's, month of Aquarian and Piscean birthdays, month of the last Chinese New Year. What might we be understanding, recalling, or just letting our soul release from that month of 2021, February? Releasing, moving back now, a year ago to January of 2021, month of new resolutions, month perhaps of great social isolation, month of Capricorn and Aquarian birthdays, understanding so that we can release, understanding of changes in our world and our government. What did we learn in January? Breathing in and releasing. Thinking of our resolutions, our hopes, then correlating with now as we release January of 2021, and now we call up the year as a whole, 2021. If there's any last soul lesson for you in the year, let that flow through you before we release this year. Now take a moment, breathe deeply, and release the energy. You can even in your meditative state, lift your hands up and we release 2020, 2021 to the skeins of time and space. And we come gradually back into our conscious awareness. We welcome, as we pull our hands down, the year 2020. We come back into our conscious awareness and come back into this room and into this space. And as you come back, if someone, you don't need to, but if someone wished to share something of their experience, had a question about something that arose, feel free to do that.
I find it quite helpful to release the fears and the losses related to the CZU fire and to the losses associated with COVID over the last year plus.
I honor that, Chris, and I also agree with you. What came up for me in a really strong, powerful way was releasing May 26th, 2021, which was the VTA shooting,
Oh,
which I amazingly had the opportunity to walk side by side with many VTA folks, and it's been my deep honor, but I'm so saddened that the shooting that took 9 people's lives, but actually in reality took 10 people's lives because one of the union leaders actually died by suicide
oh my gosh.
in the aftermath of it. And I
Oh
think
my
his grief was so powerful
Oh,
about the fact that he couldn't save his union brothers and sisters from this. And so I honor that, and I honor the connection it has brought us, and I honor my powerful goal, for the rest of 2021 and coming into 2022 is bringing as much peace as I can possibly bring.
well, I'm glad that you had an opportunity again to review the year for you and to join your energy with us. Have we lost Elsa? I don't know. But
No, you didn't lose me. Can you hear
oh,
me?
I'm glad you're still with us, Elsa.
I'm
That's
just writing in my book little things.
wonderful, Elsa. So glad you're here. So, I know I've tried to reflect. I saw currents and trends. Whenever I do this, I understand better what the creator and the creative energies are really trying to show me. And I saw some celebrations that we were able to create in my yard safely with a small group who all had joy and compassion and love for Vanessa. And I see that because I've dedicated myself a lot to her during this time, that was such a beautiful fruition. I had so much joy with the people who came, and that love continued and expanded. And I just have the sense that have not been alone, that we have been sustained in this time and so forth. Did anybody else want to share a highlight or just something that you experienced? Cheryl, did you have a sense of some of the things that were happening for you?
Well, January of last year, I'm able to sleep better all year, knowing that we have a change in our government. Although I'm ashamed of January 6th of our country, that we have people that be so destructive to our capital. And I can't believe that we have such division. But it's amazing that I feel so much more peaceful with the change in government.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing. And anybody else with their perception of the world or life or your own personal journey? David, did anything come to you about these last couple of years in your journey?
Well, yeah, part of that, is the whole political situation and just letting that go and, staying in a prayerful space to bring, a greater unity and a greater peace. And then just for me personally, there were, I had a lot of personal losses last year. The Reverend Jim Hayward, who was a good friend, died from COVID pneumonia in January.
Mm.
And I lost both of my pets last year, one in June and one at the end of December.
Mhm.
And some
Wow.
changes in relationships. So it was just kind of interesting to go back through that and
Mhm, mhm.
see that and let it all go too. So thanks.
And sometimes when we do it, the underlying lesson that we or sustenance that we weren't as aware of may kind of come up and help us unify some of those experiences as we release them. I think of the opportunities I've had through social media, and I'm not a facile person on the computer, to know people better, to reach out, for example, to Kevin, who went through so many struggles, and to feel that sense of connection with him, and with when my daughter was going through the illness and Kevin's struggle. And I feel that those are heart-touching moments that might not have happened had I just been going to church and maybe seeing him occasionally, but there became like a deepening of relationships, even through Zoom, social media. I never thought I would say that, but I can see it. I also lost a pet, one that I had some karma to help, but he passed. And yeah, when you mentioned pets, the connection to nature and to the depth of connection to the animals in my life and in nature, I think for many of us, that's been strengthened a lot. The simplicity of just going and breathing air in our bit of yard, and enjoying the sight of the sky or the tree. It does, Patricia, did you want to add anything to
But
your?
it's just instead of going through birthdays, I felt like I was going through I lost this person that month. I lost this person this month. I
Okay.
lost 4 family members and so many friends this year. And but then I look over and there's been, along with all the losses, there's been gains and
Okay.
changes. And so it's this has not been an easy year last year for me, but it's part of life, and there's been certainly lots of changes.
Lots of changes and loss. And Chris, did you want to add any more? I guess you had shared before we get to Elsa.
There was a lot of stress and loss with the CZU fires that had just minimized, the evacuations. My son Cameron, his wife, lost her parents lost their home up in Boulder Creek, or not Boulder Creek, but the flats above Felton, and a lot of things there that are just really stressful. The isolation of the COVID on top of the evacuations. It was very stressful to having to evacuate and gather your papers and then be back and be ready to go, and everybody afraid of future fires coming through. The damage is there. And the COVID on top of that just it made it worse. Oh, you want to be with somebody, but you can't be. People that want to come together in unity, and yet you're not supposed to. I have great concerns and prayers for the future of UCM. CCL lost their real estate, and now they're hopefully in a better place, but still the transitions. Patty moved out of the area. There's been really, really significant changes that have occurred that just, it's almost like it blew up everything that we knew in our familiarity. And just trying to go to the store to buy something, and if you need, I'm trying to repair some plumbing, but I haven't, not wanting to go out and going out, and am I vaccinated, going through that whole theatrics of so much of this, and the energy behind it, the fear, the judgment. I'm hoping that will be much less in the coming year, and that this COVID thing, and just the thought, I know somebody was really criticized for saying that they see the end of this pandemic coming, where it'll become like the flu, being criticized for that. But to me, that's just like the hope, the salvation that, the worst is over.
We can really hope. Thank you.
We have Dr. J is in a hospital and trying to live a full life, and they're in Mexico vacationing, and he winds up in intensive care. He was on a ventilator. I guess he's just off of. And that's the scary thing, because there's debate about whether they should be using ventilators or not, whether it makes it worse or not. And
Thank you.
There's so much fear and anxiety, and what does the future hold? I have, in my 69 years, I've never seen so much stress in a short amount of time. Let me put it that way. And I pray for this year to be much better, calmer.
Thank you.
I was just gonna say, Lynn, that the one thing that bubbled up through looking
Yes.
at the last year was just permanence, and that it's like the reality that we have known appears to be shifting so radically
Yes.
that we don't know where we're going to be going as a country, as a, the world.
Right.
And
Right.
and that's very disconcerting for many people.
Thank you, David. And Elsa, what did, for reflecting on the year for you, what came up for you?
Mine, okay, I was going to try to come back. Oh, mine's more personal. I was just trying to touch all my friends' lives through the telephone, because there were so many losses, and it was a heavy year, but I tried to lighten it up to bring joy to them through the telephone, I guess. And we're planning a big party come the end of this, which hopefully will be this year. I don't know if I'm praying for a miracle, I guess, but
Tabitha wants to share, excuse me.
Hi, Tabitha.
Okay.
She's beautiful.
She lost her friend Teddy this year, and she's here with us. Okay, Tabitha, she comes up to share, excuse me.
And she brings joy to us all.
Well, Elsa, you've been so, I realized when I reflected on especially the last months of the year, and I just felt your kindness toward my daughter and toward a lot of us, and coming and bringing your grace and your light. And it was just, I want to say how much of a wonderful grace of God that has really been. And that's what I felt when I feel that the Creator's been with us. And even in these times, we've had grace, divine grace in so many ways in the midst of all of this. So yeah, you have been a big part of that here. Well, okay, good. So we've done a good job to release, and then we kind of want to get to some fun parts of looking ahead personally as to what could be. So you might want to stretch for a minute if you can, and just move around a little bit, and shift our energy, because I wanted to look at some of the trends in the stars, the numbers, and we have some sunspot things coming up, so that we can get an idea of how we can best use the year with our intuitive tools. Numerology is a fun thing. It comes to me from the premise, astrology and numerology, that we've lived before, that we kind of choose, our soul chooses our moment of birth, even influences our name somewhat, and particularly the date, the position of the stars don't dictate our life. But good astrologers say the stars incline. They don't compel us. We have our will. But there was a vibratory moment when you entered, and there was a number. Pythagoras, the mathematician, was also a numerologist and thought that it was a connected cosmology. So in numerology, it's the idea that we run in 9-year cycles. And what we're finding out tonight is, where are you in a 9-year cycle that began with planting some seeds in a 1 year, working on relationships in a 2-year, creativity in a 3, structure and rebuilding in 4, change and variety and communicating in 5, working on home and relationships in 6, becoming introverted and reconnecting with our spiritual path in 7, getting out in the world a little more authoritatively in 8, and finally in 9, harvesting what we've grown and in the garden of life and letting go. So I want you all to try to figure out your numerology. So I'm going to try a thing which is a lot for me. I'm going to try to share my screen for a second.
Could
Okay.
you, for a moment, Lynn, could you repeat those? Because I think those are wonderful things
Oh,
that
okay.
I've never really paid attention.
Okay, let me repeat the basics because you'll need to know it. You could take some notes if you want. So it's a 9-year. You plant your seeds in the 1 year. And you have to think of the new and yourself and being new directions. In the 2, you work intuitively on using your intuition and cooperating in one-on-one relationships. And then in the 3, creativity is born of the 1 and the 2. And you're like your inner child, your inner creative talents get to soar. In 4, you ground that creativity with some structure, some building, some organizing, and some persisting. Is everybody up to that, or do you want a moment to catch up? 1 is new beginnings, 2, cooperating and intuition, 3, creativity, 4, structure and grounding. 5 is kind of your freedom year. You've been so structured, you get to communicate and make some changes in freedom. Then you move in 6, which is you make adjustments and in your familial, you give service, you work on your home, you kind of adjust in your relationships and your service. In 7, you have a chance to have some good alone time, get on more on your spiritual path and redirect your life spiritually. And then 8, having done that, you get to get out and share, a little more authoritatively, work on your success. It's a success material number 2. And 9 is the harvest year where all of the seeds come in. You get things that you've planted, but it's also a time of letting go before a new 1 cycle and being a humanitarian. Does everybody kind of have the basics of the numbers before we go into yours? Okay. All right. So I'm going to try to share my screen a little tiny bit. Bear with me. Okay. Photo. This is, if you know me, this is a lot for me to share my screen. Okay. Let's see if I can get that one that I need. I may not. This may not work. Okay. Huh. Okay, I'm going to try to take this, not that one, but this one, and say done. Nope, it didn't. I'm sorry. I'm going to try one more time. If you guys can, make your notes. I tried
Yes.
this. Share screen, share photos. Oh, I may need more time with Corey. I have it. It's right here, and I want to share it. I did it. Yay.
Yes, good
Oh,
job.
yay. Okay.
Good job.
Big accomplishment for me. Okay.
That's huge, Lynn. Bravo.
It is.
Bravo.
Thank you, Joe, in spirit. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So I'm born on 9/11. So this is what you're going to do too. Take your month, which is for me the 9. Then I'm born on the 11th, and I add it to 2022. But I do it in a special way. In numerology, you break everything to a single digit unless it's an 11, 22, or 33. Okay, so I took 9 plus 11, that's 20, plus 6 is 26. And then I added the 2 plus 6 together and got an 8 personal year. Can you all do this now on paper with your year? And if you have a question, please feel free to ask. I'm so proud of myself. You can actually see it.
So you take 2022 as 6?
Yes, right. And so in my next group with my birth date, I put 9 plus 11, which is really a 2, plus 6. And I get a 26. 2 plus 6 adds to 8. Because unless you have an 11, 22, or 33, a double number, you always break it down to a single.
Hmm.
Now,
So
I
wait a
take-
minute. May I raise my hand,
Yes.
Reverend Lynn? So
Yes,
I think I messed it up. So I'm a 611.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't treat, so I add up 6 and 11, which is 17, 20,
Right.
22, which is 23, and then that goes to a 5. Is that right?
But 2022, okay, 6 and 11 you said was 17, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And then you add 2022, we've broken down to a 6. So 17 plus 6 is, and that's your number.
23.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you did have it right.
Yeah.
And 2 plus 3 is 5. Sorry.
Right.
Okay.
Thank
so
you.
You're in a great 5 freedom year. Lucky. We'll get to that. Okay. Don't burn all your bridges, but have some fun.
Did
Okay,
you add her month in there?
Her month was 6. So she put her 6 plus 11. 11 people
Oh, okay.
born on the 11th. We're independent people, but we very much want the two of a relationship, but we do it in a very, it's two independent people coming together, two ones that make our two. And also we get a lot of influx from higher energies at times. So we can be kind of extremists, but it is an interesting number to be born on. Okay. Does everybody have your number?
Yep.
Okay. So then, and tell me when you don't need this on the screen, but I want to leave it. Elsa, did you do yours?
Yes, I was born July 13, 7 and 13 are 20, which I put down to a 2. And then plus the year was 6, so that was 8.
Okay, so everybody has theirs now, so I can go off this. Okay. Okay. All right, so let's go into what that means. Okay, and we've studied the months. So who has a 1 year, a 1? Did anybody get a 1 year? Okay. So, but you'll have 1 month. And of course, 1 is the new start. It's striking out as an individual, making a new start, starting a new cycle of experiences, to have courage, make plans, avoid inertia, and always go the new way when you have a choice. Okay. And focus on yourself. And you'll have months like that, which I showed on the chart. Okay. So let's go now to did anyone have a 2, an 11, or a 2 year? Okay. So you didn't have an 11 or 2, but if you do, that will move more into dyads, like one-on-one, using your intuition, and for harmony, and 11 brings sort of higher energies into that sphere. Did anyone have a 3? A 3 year? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's nice, because 3, what is your birth force, Patricia? Your whole birthday?
It's September 15th.
What
and
is
I
your
was-
whole birthday add to with your original year? Do you know?
34. So it's
A
a
7.
7.
Okay. So, and so 3 and 7, both are odd numbers. You should do well under a 3. 3 is, you can have 3 creative things going, and often writing in some form comes into it. But you have a lot of workaday things up on your land where you now live, which was your parents' home. But don't forget the creative side of you. I would say you have 2 or 3 creative things going, and they can prosper. When you're under a 3, and we'll get into months too. The only problem with 3 is that your playful child is really out, and criticism by those who may be a little jealous of it or judgmental, it can shrink you a bit. So that's the challenge with 3, is to keep that creativity flowing. So that's a good year for you, actually. And you have a strong partnership with your husband, but you've probably had last year to use your intuition to manage some of your one-on-one relationships and not push forward as much, as you balanced a lot last year, and developing your intuitive work even further. So, and we'll come back to that, but anybody have a 4, 22 or a 4 for this year? And that would be kind of a builder year. You often have to kind of organize the closet, expect some delays. You're forming a structure. It's good for cottage businesses, for building. Who had a 5 this year? Oh, nice. Yeah, that Gemini and 5 are really happy. So I think that gets you out of the year. Last year would have had some constraints, and it would have had a lot of put your shoulder to the grindstone, and you should be able to feel some sense of change. If it's not physical travel, it'll be, it could be electronic travel and connections again. You may get a little restless under 5 and want to burn some bridges. And let's look at what Juno Jordan has. I'll have to share my screen for a second. My background has to go. Okay. So here's a book by Juno Jordan. There are lots of writers on numerology, but she's pretty good. And let's look up 5 year and just see and then I'll do Patty's 3 and 5. Let me back up to Patty a little bit and talk about a 3. Patricia, it's time to put your best foot forward, improve yourself. It's a quickening force, using your creative, inspirational, imaginative ideas and ideals which flood your heart. It is important to fasten onto dreams and visions which flash through your mind from time to time. In business, friendship, inspiration, and imagination can mean improved finances, happier associations. Let's see. And so travel, social life, entertainment in an ordinary time, love of your own and those around you. It's during the early part of the year, make sure all of your relationships and associations, make sure of them, so not to get on a detour. Even this creative year calls for good common sense. Talk your ideas over with others to help you find the way, but don't be talked out of them. And you'll feel a quickening in February. June will bring things to a head. July is a new direction of plans. And September can bring the quick opportunity to do what you want to do. December carries pleasure, but duty too. Wear rose, ruby, amber, and russet. And let's go to Janet's year. Between January and January next, changing conditions and eventful happenings will add new life and color to your undertakings, forcing you to step with progress. After the work, application, and practical conditions of last year, the change, freedom from routine, and unexpectedness should be agreeable to you. But there is an element of uncertainty running through the year, and you can feel unsettled from time to time. It does help you progress. If you keep alert to what's going on in the world, have an open mind, you can renew your affairs, clear up old conditions for more personal freedom and advancement. Change and the new are keynotes to the year, and you have a right to a fuller life than during the last few years. Let's see. During February, keep poised and think things out quietly. April brings conclusions and a decision about new things. During the summer, be careful of what you say, but push ahead. August brings some practical problems to think about for future actions. It's sort of reviewing the 4 year of before. September could show thrilling change or freedom. Work on all your good health practices in November. Pink, cherry, wisteria, and claret are good colors for you. Okay, so now we're going to 6. Did anybody have a 6 year? Okay, so 6 again, 6 has to do with responsibilities, service, and duty, unselfishness, harmonizing relationships around you, and so forth. And anybody have a 7 year this year? 7 is a year it's like a sabbatical. Who had a 7?
My husband, he just put up his hand over here.
I hope he's in our group tonight. Hi, Steve. So a 7, it can be a sabbatical, more time than usual in quiet pursuits and intellectual phases of living. Quality should be your standard. Reach out for more understanding of life and try to gain more intuitive insight into your affairs. Between January of this year and next year, you're likely to be conscious of a desire to know more and specialize your knowledge and talents. You may have a desire to be alone, to get away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. I know you're working at home. You can rest, build up your health, improve your mind. What you think is of great importance. There's much to think out. And it's better to say very little and to think clearly than to fight for your rights, argue, or attempt to explain. This is a mental house cleaning year, and you should set your mental and spiritual house in order. Let's see. And some of the months on this one, let's see if it focuses on months. Avoid feelings of confusion, humiliation, or repression. This is a waiting year for you, but there's no real limitation which you cannot overcome through poise, faith, and inner attraction. In fact, in spite of the seeming problems, this can be one of the most wonderful years of your life. This year may bring you recognition and carry you to the front of your sphere of life, especially next year in the fall. Don't try too hard or force issues, for this is a transition period bringing release of some sort as a reward when the year is done. You can wear purple, brick, and pearl to win. Okay.
She says, thank you. Thanks.
Okay, good. How many people had, what it did say for him, people in business associations may be hard to understand, and you may experience unreasonableness in others. Just make sure you are not unreasonable yourself to cause misunderstandings or disappointments. Reason things out with fairness, understanding, and poise, and you will find an expected reward. Okay, anybody with 8? I have an
Dottie had
8.
an 8.
Yeah.
I got an 8.
Wow.
I
And
am.
Cheryl has an 8. Elsa has an 8. So we have 4 8s.
Yeah, Dottie,
I'm sorry, who else?
Dottie,
Corey?
Dottie.
Dottie's 8. And what about Corey? Corey, what year are you? Is she there, Janet? For her
No,
year?
she's not there. She had to step away.
Okay. All
to
of
be
us
with our
with 8.
godsons. Yeah.
This year you will feel ambition stirring and a deep desire to better your financial conditions. So it's necessary to be business-like, efficient, and practical all through the year. Big opportunity for advancement, improving of standing and credit. Conditions are not easy. You have to exercise good judgment in these affairs. Between January and January, you put on a fighting spirit and really go after things, but take care to direct your energies properly. It can be a success year, I know. Brains count, she suggests right from the start, it's advisable to strike an aim and a goal and to pick up all loose ends in business, home, and property affairs. Organization and reorganization are the keynotes to success and advancement. You're likely to feel a great deal of mental strain in making ends meet and accomplishing what you have in mind, but this is a success year, and if you're efficient, turn over some details to others, use your head, the year will end with an improvement in condition and finances. And I extend that 8 to areas in which we want to succeed, not only business, but creative and personal and even spiritual goals. Don't overestimate the value, she's saying, of what you're dealing with. Avoid sentiment and emotion, be businesslike in your undertakings. Don't drive too hard because that can overdo and upset your health. Even in love, don't be too dominant because the 8 is very authoritative. Face the facts of what you're doing all year and quietly and determinedly try to elevate and improve your position. If you're cooperative and helpful to others, you should find those in authority recognizing your ability. In September, after you've worked with some of this, let's see, you may decide to be done with something for your own good, freedom, and peace of mind. Don't be too material minded now, for while money is power, you may find more power in being free of something than trying to hang on to it. There is a living condition to be met and worked out behind the mental unrest. So you must carry it through for the sake of your character and your future. Let's see. Some could move and change living conditions or business conditions in the spring, but there are lots of little things to take care of before you plan ahead in April. July may bring, according to your numbers, an adjustment between members of the family and in business partnerships. August could bring a feeling of being alone because we were in a 7 last year. We were reflecting, but accept this. Take time to rest and tone up your digestive system. September is the high point, and fall will be giving over to working out the idea, which comes about at this time. November tends to give a new start from an old standpoint. Canary, buff, tan, opal, and ivory are good colors for those of us that have an 8-year. Okay, nines, anybody? 9 is often the ending of a cycle, and it's where you can kind of push ahead in 3s and 5s and 8s. In 9, it's kind of a release year, but also a humanitarian culminating year as well. So we all have a little bit of a sense of it, and we're let's see where we are now.
And by the way, Corey is a 1-year this year.
Oh, 1. So this for her, she'll be try to pioneer new things, try new things, standing as an individual, you know, and knowing that the seed she's planting for herself and for her church will kind of hopefully flower over the next 9-year period. So think of that as a seed planting. And let me go back. Is she here or not here? She's not here, but you can.
Oh, she's still not here, but I can.
Yeah, you
share
could
it with
talk
her.
to her about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are important things. Did anybody want to connect in my little screen share? I also showed you how to do your months. So I'm going to put that on for a minute again. And I'm going to go see if I can do it. I have to push another button. Oh, here it is. Okay. Okay, I'm going to put it, and I'm going to show you at the bottom, although I think we can kind of see Janet there. How do you get your month? Let's say you're in an 8-year. Well, you add 1. January is the first month, and you get a personal month. So let's say you want to know how things are going. We 8s, we are still finishing some things in January. We're in a completion month, maybe of things we needed to clean out, let go of, or learn lessons and take a humanitarian attitude. To underneath the 8, which we're pushing to be more authoritative and successful, we have some releasing to do this month because we're in a 9 release month. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So Janet, if you're in a 5-year, what month would you be in January? Based
I
on
would-
this part?
I would be a 6.
A 6. So things that have to do service, home, service, and your adjustments that you need to make to create harmony, that's going on. Even though you're in a freedom year, you have some of that to do to achieve your freedom. So can we see how we can use it? Now, let's supposing you had a very important day in January. Let's say that you're on January 11th, you have something important to do, and you're an 8. So that gives me a 9, or let's take today. Today is the 25th. So that's what day? The 25th of January is broken down to a 7. So here I am in a 9 personal month, but I'm having a 7 day. And 7 means that I'm in an 8-year, a 9 months, but I'm having a 7 day. So I have to do something spiritual. I have to draw on my wisdom of metaphysical laws and help us all be on a more spiritual path. So it's just like you can use that in lots of ways. Does everybody understand how to do the month?
So
Yes,
I'm clear about the month, but you now tell me how to do the day. I
Okay,
didn't
so-
quite get that in. I was
Okay,
trying
so
to write it
Janet,
down.
you're in a 5-year, and with January gives you a 6 month, right? So today is the 25th. You tell me adding that to your 6 personal month, what day would you be in? You add the 2 and 5 together, so you get a 7 for the day. And your personal month is 6. So 6 and 7 are 13-4. And
Right.
you'd have to do some work and get through a few obstacles today and kind of put your shoulder. So even though you're in a freedom year, this particular day involves some structure and some organizing and sort of a little bit of weights falling on you. So that's it. So,
Beautiful.
yeah, so-
Beautiful. I love it.
so does everybody see how to do that?
Yeah.
From the okay, I'm going to turn the chart off, but now you see how to do it. That's great. I mean, some people go so far as if they have to sign something, what's a good hour? You just keep adding that number on. But I really have found that over the years, your year does pretty much resonate with the with a number, with a personal number. And some numerologists, the minority, may change that, get you into it at your birthday. But I found it pretty much starts in January, but may intensify a bit on your birthday. Okay, so we did that. And let's see, what's next? Getting good. I'm going along schedule. There was also the Chinese. Does everybody know what animal you are? Because that's, I assume we've all heard what Chinese animal you are. What are you, Janet?
I am the water dragon.
Water dragon. Okay.
Mhm.
Does anybody else? Cheryl, what are you?
A dog.
A dog. And what are you, David?
I don't remember what I am. I was told once upon a time.
Okay. Okay.
Then
And
I'm the rat and Dottie's a tiger.
Ooh,
ooh, we're in a tiger year. Elsa, do you know what you are?
I can't remember either.
Okay.
I
And
think it might
Patricia,
be
do you know your animal, Patricia?
Yeah, yes, I'm a horse, but I don't
Okay.
know which horse,
Okay, now if you all have, you want to quickly, because I did some stuff, but I didn't do every, I assume people knew. If you want to quickly push another button and just ask put your birth year on your Google search, it'll probably tell you what Chinese animal you are. I mean, you could do it on a side screen, David, or Elsa. I know
Yeah.
someone could do it for you, Elsa. So Chris, what are you?
He's
I believe
gone.
it's a monkey, 52.
I'm not sure. Yeah, if somebody turns on an alternate screen for a minute, we can quickly find out what those years are, but I have trouble doing it. Anybody able to do it? Somebody has to turn on Google for a minute and say, what year is this year, this year, this year? And the years come in about during the Chinese New Year. So you actually have to look it up because you become that during the Chinese New Year. But let me just say, we're in a water tiger. And is that what you are? Is Dottie a water tiger?
No, just tiger.
Okay, because I'll tell you how to find your element. And here's how you find your element. Okay. All right, the elements are, hold on. Oh, where's my element list?
I think there are 5. Is that correct?
There are 4 elements, and the elements have to do with the numbers of the year. And I had that. Oh my gosh, where did you go? I might just take 1 second myself to look up everybody's year. So I'm going to go off for a second, still talking to you, and I'm going to Google the years that we don't have. Okay. All right. So I'm going to look up.
Well, 38 and 48 for Dottie and myself.
Okay, and you guys already know your year,
Yeah.
correct?
Oh,
You know
okay.
your
Yeah. We just don't know
Okay.
what.
So turns out I'm an ox.
Oh, you're an ox. Okay. And so Elsa, what's your
Wonderful.
year? What is your year,
38.
Elsa? 38, like Dottie? Okay. Okay. So let's do Elsa's year. I'm going to do, and Chris's year. Okay, let's look. Okay, here, 1938, Elsa is water tiger, just like Dottie, water tiger.
Mhm.
Okay.
water.
And
Okay.
that, this is incredible because we're in a water tiger year. so
Yes, yes.
Okay, let me try to go back and see if I can find, whoa, okay. Chris's.
Chris, are you 1952?
Yes,
That's me. You're a water dragon.
a water dragon.
Water dragon. Okay,
Not
let me
just a
get back now.
dragon, but a water dragon, huh?
That's right.
I guess I got the right background.
There you go.
Okay, so we have Chinese years to work with. Now let's look at
Water
this.
dragon.
And as we look at it, we're in the year of the water tiger. So let's read a little bit about water tiger. Now, Chinese they're scared of, I looked quite a bit. They're a little scared of the tiger, but more westernized people are saying tigers, big changes. People may risk taking adventure. There can be disruptions in career, romance, home. One can take great leaps or crash and burn. That's the tiger year globally. But you could follow intuition to your wildest dreams. Water tiger years bring out our emotions. I don't think this will be a stodgy, exactly stable years. Sorry, David. It looks like we're still rocking and rolling in lots of different ways. And horses apparently really like this year because they love personal freedom. Some of the Chinese signs that are more analytical or held back may have a little more trouble with the water tiger. But if we look at Dottie as a water tiger, Dottie's extroverted. She definitely takes risks. She has a sense of adventure, and yet she has an eloquence and fluidity with the water. And that's what makes the water tiger different. Water tigers as a sign, and that's you too, Elsa, they have a wide variety of interests. They're eager to experiment with new ideas, go off and explore. They're versatile, shrewd. They have a kindly nature. They can remain calm in a crisis, though they can be indecisive at times. They communicate well with others, and through her many capabilities and persuasive nature, she usually achieves what she wants in life. She's also imaginative and is often a gifted orator or writer. So that's some of the stuff about water tigers. And
I'm a woodhorse.
anybody have a question about that? And so you can look to your year to see how it's going to fit in well with the tiger. I've looked at lots of sources. The Chinese classical are quite superstitious about a lot. You know, they want you to wear like dragon and pig charms in a tiger year or whatever. But if I looked at the source that resonated the most, and I wanted here, I found it, I did find this to find out what element you are. If your year ends in a 0 or a 1, does anybody have that? A year that ends in a 0 or a 1? Then your metal element. Okay, metal can be impetuous. They can be arrogant at times. Metal element. If your year that you were born ends in a 0 or a 1. Anybody have that? No. Does your year end in a 2 or a 3? Yes. Okay. Which is water. And that would be agility, eloquence. What about a 4 or a 5? Can be wood, creative imagination. If your year ends in a 6 or 7, it can be fire, passion, and adventure. If it ends in an 8 or a 9, earth, patience, and stability. So I did learn
Yeah,
that.
Dottie both ended in 8.
And an 8. Okay. So there's an earth element in there also. Okay.
You said it was patience and what?
Stability. What does your year end with, Corky?
8.
Both
us,
of you.
8.
Yeah, it gives patience and stability in some of the Chinese sources. So the lunar year this year will be February 1st. And so we know that. And remember that water tiger brings outer emotions. Horses will like its freedom. Pigs may like it, the pleasure. But monkeys and snakes, monkeys like to think rather than jump to action, and snakes like to strategize. So they may have a different style. They recommended blue and green, the numbers 1, 2, and 7, the flower, the plum blossom, and the north. But the tigers themselves can wear some red. Okay.
Yay.
Okay, so we've covered a little bit about numerology, and then I have one more thing, and then we're going to go into some sunspots. I have one more thing with astrology, but I think maybe I'm going to take a little break and let Chris and maybe Patricia will chime in a bit on sunspots and how sunspots affect us collectively. And then I'll come back in with some astrology and some affirmation. So Chris, and I know Patricia's there, if you all want to explain sunspots. Patty explained to me over the phone, and I never knew this, that the sun has certain cycles. And by the way, the Chinese astrology, I learned, it's tracking the progression of Jupiter. Everything is based on the planet Jupiter, and the signs are all symbolic of some of the stars. Okay, well, Chris and Patricia, feel free to chime in too. Let's go to sunspots.
Okay, I'm gonna start here. I guess everybody can hear me. And I'm going to try and share the screen that I am looking at, which, let's see if it gets me there. Oh boy, it can, does anybody see a screen?
No.
It says space.
Usually if you take. your-
Chris, I'm going to make you
Top
co-host
of-
so you can
top
share
of your-
screen now. Go ahead.
Oh, I was able to share without it even.
Okay, go ahead, Chris. I made you
Well,
co-host.
I clicked on it and I might not be finding the address. Let me see. Maybe it's,
But Chris, why don't you look for a minute and Patty, could you share what you did with me on the phone about what you know of he looks on
Well,
sunspots?
there's 11-year solar, the solar goes through an 11-year cycle. And in fact, maybe this will show, there is 2 11-year cycles in this. This is actually from 1999 to 2010, and then all the way to 2020. So actually, we just started a new solar cycle. And what happens is that we have solar energy, magnetic and solar flares, and it goes really high about the middle of the 11-year cycle and then drops down. And actually, this is a lower 11-year cycle here. So this is a lower, that's a solar cycle, and that's a solar cycle. So this is 11 years, and this is 11 years. So we have spikes in the electromagnetics of the sun, and that does affect us. There's actually a magnetic flip that happens at each cycle. So it flips like poles, and we're very much affected by the solar energy because people during these high solar periods of time, they're more agitated, they get more anxious, and then when they're more harmonious when you get down to a lower one. So when the solar goes lower, let me put it that way, when it drops. So we have just started a new cycle at the very end of 2019, and now we are increasing the solar magnetic influence. And the problem with when you have these solar flares is that it does affect us biomagnetically. It affects the earth, it affects the ionosphere, and so we're going to be, between now and the next 4 years, we can expect that people will have a more heightened, agitated state of mind, or planetarily wise, and then they reach that peak about 5 years, and then the magnetic energy starts to affect us.
Thank you. Thank you,
Patricia.
Patricia. And Chris, are you ready to share? Whether it's the screen or your wisdom?
I am going to go without the screen share. What I do is every day I go to a site that's called spaceweathernews.com, capital S, capital W, and capital N. Space Weather News, no spaces in between the words, spaceweathernews.com. And every day the man there updates with the latest images of the sun and its activity from the satellites that are currently put up there by the United States and the European Space Agency, ESA, and there's SOHO and others. And it gives the images of the sun with relationship to where the planet Earth is. So, and it shows the activity on the sun. If there's sunspots, it shows there, and if there's activity, there's the magnetic fields are shown in different frequencies that we don't see with our eyes. And if there's ejections, coronal mass ejections that come out of these sunspots, if they're aiming at the Earth, directly or indirectly affects the strength and the connection. There is protons, I believe, come almost instantaneously through a magnetic connection between the sun and the earth. Our daylight is one form of energy we see from the sun, but it is very limited. Now, these cycles that Patty has talked about are detailed on this. Every morning they give a rundown. It takes about 4 minutes. It shows the current activities, the snapshots of the sun and the different frequencies, which ones are significant, which ones are not. But there's major events. They called the Carrington Event, happened, I believe, in the 1910s. And that was an eruption on the sun that was so significant that when the energy hit the planet Earth and was absorbed by the telegraph wires, it set the operator stations on fire. The telegraph wires acted like antennas to pick up this energy and concentrated it so much. If we had a major event like that nowadays, it could knock out all of our satellites, all our communications, and basically put us back into the dark ages. And it would affect everything from our communications to our electrical grids, which of course, without those systems in place, all the things we count on, our electricity keeps our food cold and storage, runs our pumps so we can put gas in our cars, the traffic lights, all the communications.
ATMs.
Pardon, EMPs, electromagnetic pulses. On a minor scale, there's the threat of, with the saber rattling going on recently, there's a big threat to the United States if there was a war, that they would set off a nuclear blast over, say, Silicon Valley, electromagnetic pulse, and the pulse would knock out the same thing, much like a sunspot, and energy could under an extreme event. Those cycles that Patty's talking about, the 11-year from peak to bottom, we're entering one. What the sunspots in effect charge our magnetosphere, which surrounds the planet Earth, which actually protects us in numerous ways from different particles coming in towards our planet. And when it was in low cycles, which it has been, the magnetosphere charge is low and diminished and gives the Earth planet less protection. So the rise in the solar activity is a plus, and we're hoping to get this at higher levels before, we get any extraneous activity coming in, that magnetosphere can absorb it. There's been a lot of there's other things going on that we're seeing now, which some people claim is man-made climate change, but having worked in aerospace myself and worked on some of these projects, which are new methods of measuring the activity of the sun, the magnetic field around the planet Earth, the actual magnetic, you hear talk about the magnetic poles of the Earth are moving. And that is being more and more accurately measured. And it is moving. These cycles have occurred in the past. And there's a lot of detail. If you go to the site, spaceweathernews.com, you go to YouTube, you can see it, and on a daily basis. And underneath the video is more information. And they have links to explain in great detail each and every aspect that they summarize each day. So in an hour and a half, you can do a catch up of what they call Oh, the catastrophe series.
And Chris, be sure to tell us also how this affects us on a day-to-day basis, our health and our guidance as well.
Yes, 1 second, Lynn. Anyway, this Ben Davidson is the leader of this, and he keeps in communication with members of NASA and other people working on these programs. And it is a collective energy and analysis of all this different data input. Whereas, like, say I worked on a star tracker, which helped keep these satellites oriented in space like a gyroscope would. And they collect this information pieces with an overview to how they affect our planet and affect us on Earth. The energy that we receive from the sun, if we get these bursts, as Patty was talking about, from the sunspots, if they reach a magnitude of, on a scale, which you would see if you go to that site, they can affect our mental activity, causing some people that say might be a little mentally agitated to begin with, it might make them more agitated. It might make people that have tendencies to be aggressive, might make them more aggressive. So if you see that in the morning before you go to work, you might not honk at somebody that's driving erratically. You'll have an early warning.
That's a good way to use it practically.
And listen, and it also affects the cardiac health. Our body is energy, is an electrical field. Our heart is triggered by that. And it is, my mom worked as a cardiac care nurse, and on full moons used to, it was a warning of, could be bad nights for the people working on the cardiac care unit for people with heart problems. They had more loss of patients, and people would have cardiac arrest underneath the full moons. And the energy from when it's high energy from these sunspots, similar tracks have been, are being statistically built and expanded upon. So there's days that people with atrial fib and things like that, it's better for them to be a little more cautious and take it easy, is in my own case. But I highly recommend the site. More and more, NASA is actually evolving a lot of the information that's being published, how much publicized on the news. There's incomplete data that these people are basing assumptions upon, and putting a lot of these things as being all caused by man's burning carbon, but yet our planet is a large majority built out of carbon, the structure of it and everything. And what man has done is insignificant in the big picture. There's 12,000 year cycles where they believe, now they're documenting, where the sun goes through what they call not supernovas, but minor novas, where there'll be eruptions from the sun, which can cause great distress upon the planet Earth changes. And these cycles, they're tied down to 12,000 year cycles, and it ties to the cycles within the sun. And by gathering elements, helium, etc., in the space at certain distances from the sun, they're tracking when these events occurred. These elements could only be there by certain types of events, like a supernova as the residual things, and those elements can only occur on the planet Earth when they're in effect received from an event out in space. So anyway, that is my part. And Patty, did you have something you wanted to add to this?
No, I think you did a really good job on that. Because you did bring in the fact that our bodies are so bioelectrical, and we are directly affected by both the sun and the moon. And when the sunspots happen, it does happen we are actually directly affected on a physical level and an emotional level and a mental level. So we're very much cosmic beings. Just because we're born here on Earth, we're really affected by what our sun, what's happening on our sun. So yes.
Yeah, but Chris, if we go to spaceweathernews.com, capitalizing each word, is that something we do on the internet? Is it on television? How do we find?
It is on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and you enter the space weather news, it will take you you'll get a listing there, and you can go to there, and every day Ben Davidson does an update he's stationed in Arizona is where he lives and that he works out of, but he's in communication with scientists all over the planet. He does a daily update of papers significant to it. But when you go to YouTube, if you've ever gone to YouTube, you can go below the videos, below where you can control the stopping and starting of the video and there'll be more information. And sometimes you have to open it, it'll say show more, and you'll get a long list of information. They have hundreds, if not thousands of hours of in-depth details of reports from people. Every day he does an update of which scientific papers are being released in the journals, everything from Nature to the more esoteric ones that you don't hear about from a scientist around the world, which are substantiating a lot of this. They are driving the changes to the United Nations projections of climate change, which have been in the news for the last 5 decades, 50 years, starting with Al Gore. These projections were, the oceans were going to drown us all, in 10 years. Well, that didn't quite happen, but there's a lot more variables that are being tracked today than there was 50 years ago.
Let's say I just wanted to know if it's for a human, for me, like what could be a day I should avoid agitated drivers or be a little more careful of my health? How would I simply find that?
That's what's summarized each day. They give an index, a bar chart that shows when these things are color coded, say, okay, this is green, there's low activity, and they'll flag it in red. And the daily updates take about 4 minutes. There's a lot of extracurricular activity that you could do to do it. But if you spent 2 hours and there's a summary overview in the read more and more information below that video that I wanted to show, but I couldn't show that page on YouTube to give you those links also. It's a wealth of information. It's the leading edge. I got to work with some really high-level scientist when I worked on the Star Tracker which was 1999, so right around the year 2000. But there is a whole lot more information out there than what you'll see on TV in general. And even NASA, they're kind of holding back on saying some of this. NASA doesn't want to scare everybody, and say, oh, the sky is falling. But it is good to know about certain things ahead of time. It's like being a Boy Scout. Be prepared, be ready for an earthquake, have a safety kit in the trunk of your car. If you're at house, to have a certain amount of supplies on hand is just good. And most people think of that as good common sense, so they don't run out of food or candles to keep light going when or batteries when the power goes out. When the wind comes, we get daily updates. Well, the wind is coming. Be careful. The wind might knock a tree down and knock your power out.
Thank you, Chris. That's great to know.
Anyway,
that's super. Thank you.
I haven't run you over time. Anyway, Patty, any other things?
You did mention the NASA website. It's a generalized website. The website you mentioned is in much more detail. But if somebody just wanted to come in simple, understand about sunspots and solar cycles, they can go on the NASA website also.
Well, thank you both.
And
Thank
it's
you both.
NASA, capital NASA.gov, G-O-V.
Yeah, that it's, well, just type in NASA and sunspots
Yeah.
and it'll
Yep.
direct you right to it.
Yeah, you'll get to see the big thing they're pushing now is the James Webb. So the last thing that I worked on, the star tracker, there's 2 of those on the James Webb unit. And that is, so to me, it's rather interesting that, this thing's been kicking around over 20 years before they finally got it launched. I had worked on solar arrays that went up on the Hubble and things like that, but it's very interesting. There's great knowledge out there if you're interested to learn what affects us. It ties in with the Reiki image that Dr. Eileen was teaching through CCU. There was a doctor, I forget, a man that was, at CCL, that talked about the importance of grounding and had his kits in his book that he had written about the importance of grounding your body, having your feet in direct contact with the earth so you can keep the energy field of your aura, etc., grounded and balanced and dissipate some of these extraneous
That's great. That's a great one to know, especially with all these sunspots, magnetic and astrological influences that we're now under. And I'm going to get to the astrology in a minute here.
I just want to thank you, Chris, for putting that into perspective, how on a global, communal, and personal level, we are impacted by this. And thank you as well, Patty. And can you mention that last website again?
It's NASA, NASA.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Mhm.
I wanted to just as we go now more to the global, to talk about aspects astrologically that we might encounter in 2022. And this is from astrological sources, Llewellyn's Daily Astrological Guide. 2022 may be a pivotal one for the United States because we're having Pluto returns to its native place, which only happens once every 250 years. So we might look back in United States history 250 years ago to see what was going on. It can be major shifts in a nation's power and influence. Pluto kind of overhauls and then you rise again like the phoenix. So also the Llewellyn source, Pluto resides in our second house of money and self-worth. So there can be overhaul related to finances, our relationship to world markets, identity crisis. The US will also be undergoing a square from Neptune to its natal Mars and a Neptune opposition ruling the nation's image, both home and abroad. Still, there can be massive confusion. And we know that there's been distrust and suspicion of the government, press, and corporations. That may still be an all-time high, but with Saturn in Aquarius, they're suggesting that this extreme left-right paradigm division could get better as progressive-minded individuals on both sides unite to fight for better ideals. So it should be an interesting time, not exactly an easy time under water tiger, under sunspots, under these aspects. And Uranus will continue to transit through authoritarian Taurus. So Uranus and Taurus don't mix exactly. The bull, the earth, the ox, and here's Uranus that shakes a lot of things up. So anyway, and we'll look back to what was happening 250 years ago in United States history. Can anybody tell us what year that is? I didn't calculate it. Here we are, 2022. What would 250 years back would be what year? Anybody have it? Certainly an earlier time in United States history. And we know that some of our forefathers and foremothers were definitely innovative, creative.
1772.
1872.
Yeah,
1872.
1872.
1872.
1770.
1772. Well, that's right
1772.
before the American Revolution. So,
Yeah.
let's look back to what was stirring before the revolution. And there were a lot of free thinking and innovative people at that time. And we may see some of that as Pluto makes this real shake-up transition. I know Janet likes us to conclude fairly early so she can end her long day. Are you pushing toward about 8 or a little longer, Janet? Because I'm
Generally, we end about 8.
okay. So I'd
for the
like to
recording.
use our
Yeah.
remaining time for all of us to make some affirmations. And as we make affirmations, personal affirmations and global affirmations, if someone's making an affirmation, your intuition may stir for them. This is time when not only can we make personal affirmations and world affirmations, but perhaps your intuition will resonate with you and stir you to give you an insight as someone else is talking about them or about the world. So let's take another deep breath and just be thankful that we can share a lot of helpful information about intuitive and even scientific tools to help us have a better 2022. And let's go around and let each person make a personal and then a global affirmation. David, can I start with you?
Oh, boy. Let
And
me
we'll
think about
echo it with blessed bees if you want to. Blessed bees, so be it. We'll really charge it. Amen. Whatever you'd like to affirm, both in your own life and the life of the world or others of concern.
Well, I guess both on a personal and global level, it's for me, it's about just meeting whatever occurs and happens with greater love.
Okay. Okay. Well, blessed.
And that brings forth a unity in terms of overcoming some of the divisions that we find ourselves in. Way to find common ground.
Well, so be it. Blessed be. Can we can
So
echo
be
this?
it. Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Okay. Let's go to Patricia. What would you affirm for yourself, those you care for in the world?
Well, I want to affirm compassion and tolerance for other people's ideas, beliefs, and how they want to take care of themselves and their worlds and their ideas. Because right now, people are having a lot of struggle to for their ideas to have meaning. I affirm that whatever their ideas, it is meaningful and personally that they have the right to those ideas and feelings. And
So compassion and lack of judgment toward each other's
I think that's
ideas and beliefs and practices. Blessed be to the highest good.
Yes.
And Chris, do you have one for yourself, your loved ones, or the world?
Well, I want to digress for just a moment. There is arguments in the astrological world about when the real age of Aquarius is upon us. And there's those that believe that, corrected for the things and with more modern measurements, that the age of Aquarius is now, not in the earlier decades ago. And that with the age of Aquarius comes the exposing of a lot of things that have been hidden from us. A lot of things that have been happening behind the scenes will become common knowledge and apparent. And with that, I missed the window when we were talking about the astrology. And with what Patty was saying about free will, there's some really interesting dynamics going on. And I pray for the tolerance of others to accept their free will to make their own decisions. This country, my forefathers, the John Hanson, our first president of the Continental Congress and Assembly, was there. At these times, these were tumultuous times back then. I think they are very much so now. One key thing I pray for is that people will accept, is when I grew up, we were allowed to debate the two sides of a thing without it being, oh, you're not a human, or being called slanderous names because you had a different agreement. I was put out in a school where you had to one day do the pro con side of a exercise, and then the next day you had to come back and do the con side. And you learned a lot about people's tolerance and understanding of and appreciating their opinions and stating and making your
So
own
what
case.
would be your affirmation for us, your prayer?
Appreciating that we're all in this together, that they accepting that in science there is competing positions, and that is what brings us to the best. We're, as a society, have built a pyramid of knowledge, and that apex and that peak is built upon the shoulders of a lot of different opinions that were found to be incorrect in later decades in that, but it's a building of the knowledge to the best that you can get at that apex. To do that, you have to have open dialogue without demonizing somebody throwing in a different idea. So
Right,
that
so
I
we-
appreciate. Patty's laughing. I appreciate that.
Sorry, I don't mean to be laughing at you. My husband's doing stuff in the background.
That's okay.
So Chris, let's make our affirmation of that.
The affirmation is that we have an appreciation for everyone's choice on this planet in this incarnation to exercise their free will. In the early days of founding of this country, it was don't tread on me, don't not be oppressing others if you don't understand what they're saying, allowing them their free will, respecting them as human beings with a different opinion.
Blessed be to our free
Blessed
will.
be.
May we
Blessed be.
respect one another's free will and have constructive dialogue with one another. Bless. And Elsa, did you have, as we come up to 8, did you have a prayer, a wish for yourself or for the planet, Elsa? That we
Well,
can.
I guess what Chris said, more respect and acceptance for self and others, but also I keep going back to the golden rule. Maybe people could come closer to doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's something from my childhood.
Beautiful. Blessed be.
Thank you.
Blessed be.
And Cheryl, did I call on you? Did you have an affirmation?
I affirm to have uplifting people in my life. And for the world, I affirm for the world abundance in life-giving food and clean water. There's many places on the planet that they're not having that at this time, but I affirm that we can have that happen.
Blessed be, so be it.
Blessed be.
Blessed be.
And Janet, did you have an affirmation or a prayer?
My affirmation goes right back to love, that we can have that respect and love for our individual differences and embrace the diversity of all that we are into the unity of all that we can be together, working together in love.
Blessed be.
Blessed be.
So as we come to a closing prayer, we ask the divine creator, the Father, Mother, God, Goddess, and all that is, the one creative force that's both within us and all around us, called by different names and different faiths. And we ask that the differences between us heal, that our environment is protected, that the disease threat that's threatened us would gently be carried away to the dust heap of this native nothingness and converted by the Creator into only good for all the beings of earth. And may we never forget that we're not alone in these times, and that we as light workers can call on, can trust that force of compassion and light in the eternal name of the eternal Christ Spirit, called by many names, compassion in many traditions. Amen. Blessed be. So be it. And hopefully we presented some intuitive and scientific tools that you can use and explore further to create a good 2022.
And
for
that
you.
is, and I just wanted to add, thank you so much, Reverend Lynn and Reverend Chris and Reverend Patty, for all of you who brought wisdom to the table. And we did not get to hear Corky and Dottie's wish.
Oh, I'd love to hear them.
Oh,
Oh, I have one. I have one. To be curious, kind, and stay in love. That's my-
Yay.
Love that. Blessed
Hallelujah.
be.
Blessed be.
Dottie?
And what about
Blessed be.
Dottie?
I affirm that we stop arguing and start listening.
Mm.
Blessed
Good.
be.
Blessed
And do
be.
we,
Blessed be.
as we wind up, is there any, has our intuition spoken to us tonight? Is there anything that we feel we're getting from spirit? We certainly, and I'm open to giving a short message because I do that. So I think I'll do that. And if you have one, you can join in. So I just want to take a moment and listen to, since we are a spiritualist church, to listen to any message that our angels on the other side of life that stand in the light would like to bring to us. And I want to share that briefly. And if you have something you may share as well. So taking a moment. I'm just receiving the message from spirit that coming together like this is so important. They're showing kind of a knot, a good knot of good cords that connect us. That each time we meet in this educational series and other opportunities to connect in light, we strengthen the work that each of us does individually, but it's magnified many times over. And that little knot of cords and bundles can reach out and connect with those of other light beings. And that this is an important process for us to continue to bring. My late husband, Joe, sometimes in readings has come through and talked about how there was a gray cloud on earth, but that as people, that was in 2020, as people come together and pray in light, it created bubbles in this sort of blanket. And those on the other side who were sort of trying to shake the blanket, they were helped by the light that we're creating, that's expanding the space of light and letting that energy be released. So this is, and I feel that we're being thanked from the spirit plane for taking the time to come together and in prayer and intention. So be it.
And we just want to thank both of you, all of you who have been a part of this wonderful 2 hours of being a circle of wisdom, and also doing it in such a fun and lighthearted and wonderfully informative way. And if you are so called to provide support or make a donation to the Universal Church of the Master, we welcome you to do that. Just go to our website, u-c-m.org. And again, that's u-c-m.org, and make a contribution if you're so called to do that. And just also to know that Reverend Chris, Reverend Lynn, and all of you have such capacity to hold wisdom. And we thank you for being in the world, in these challenging yet incredibly empowering times as we reach out and support each other in this way. So thank you so much.
I would like to, we almost forgot, Reverend Jim Marney is having surgery tomorrow, I believe, or he has to be tested, and he's having surgery next week. And we pray for a good outcome for
Absolutely.
Reverend Jim Marney in his surgery.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And for
Reverend Jelusich.
Yes.
Our wonderful
And for
Reverend Richard.
anyone who's all those in our hearts and in our realms, those that have
Right.
crossed over, those that are seeking prayer, we ask that the circle of light expand right now to expand the prayer wishes in your heart. And if anyone wishes to speak them aloud, they're welcome to do so as we wind up here. Does anyone wish to put someone in prayer and light that you've been carrying?
I'm going to see a friend who's in hospice tomorrow, and I'm praying for him to have a easy pass to his next
Yes.
realm.
What is his
Beautiful.
name?
Angelo Scacaro.
Okay, for Angelo, for
Angelos.
a peaceful transition. I
Yes.
pray for Reverend Alice Terrio and Warren Knockelberg, who had participated in our church, who crossed over. Warren on Christmas Eve, Alice just before, that their light, that they have a joyous transition and can be great lights to all whom they love and to the world on the other side of life. Anyone else have a prayer for someone? Pray for my children, Vanessa and Megan, and for all of our loved ones, including our furry friends in spirit
Yes.
and beyond, and for Janet and for Corey, and for those that are keeping this space for us right now to come together. May you be blessed, safe, guided, and protected. May we all come away from this in the light of divine protection and the intention of service. Blessed be.
Blessed be. And just so grateful. Let the rivers of gratitude touch your heart and envelop you, each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. So nice to see everybody's face. You
It is.
next-
It's
this year,
beautiful.
hopefully we'll be closer together.
Tonight.